I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. When we read these words, we immediately feel the strength of hope and trust that springs from the hearts of those who believe. The psalmist reminds us that life often presents us with challenges and moments of waiting, periods in which our faith is tested and our patience seems exhausted. But it is precisely in these moments that we are invited to open our hearts and, with serenity, place our trust in the Lord. Waiting patiently is not a simple act of inertia. It is a conscious choice to remain steadfast, even when everything around us suggests haste, anxiety, or doubt. Patience here is not passivity. It is, in fact, an active attitude of trust. It is recognizing that God's plans are greater than our own, that He hears every word that comes from our hearts, and that, in due time, He will answer. Often, in the rush of everyday life, we forget to breathe and connect with the divine. We live in a rush, trying to control every detail, and we become frustrated when our efforts do not immediately produce the fruits we expect. But Psalm 41 invites us to slow down, to allow trust in God to guide our steps, and to believe that He is always attentive to our cry. Imagining the Lord leaning down to hear our cry conjures up an image of closeness, care, and tenderness. He is not a distant God watching from afar. He is a God who draws near, who bends down to hear every plea, every tear, every silent thought. This image comforts us deeply, especially in moments of loneliness or despair. When we feel that no one understands us or that our problems are too great, we can remember that there is one who leans down to us, who sees us, listens to us, and cares about every detail of our lives. Waiting patiently for the Lord also teaches us about trust. Trusting is not just believing that He exists, but believing that He acts on our behalf, even when we cannot understand His ways. Sometimes God allows periods of waiting to prepare us, strengthen us, or teach us something important. Every challenge we face, every moment of silence, every seemingly endless difficulty is an opportunity to strengthen our faith. Patience, then, becomes a bridge that connects us to divine care. As we reflect on this, we can ask ourselves, how have I waited for the Lord in my own life? Have I sought immediate answers, or have I trusted in His timing? How often have we become frustrated, forgetting that there is a greater purpose in everything that happens? Every wait is an invitation to reflection, surrender, and hope. It is in patience that faith becomes deep and resilient. Furthermore, waiting patiently also helps us notice the small signs of God's presence around us. Often, we are so focused on our problems that we fail to notice the daily blessings: sincere friendship, the support of family, the moments of silence that renew us, or even the very life that pulses within us with each dawn. Every detail is a reminder that God hears our cry and responds, even in subtle and unexpected ways. Recognizing these signs strengthens our gratitude and brings us closer to a fuller, more serene life. Patience, therefore, is not just waiting. It is learning to wait with an open and attentive heart. It is understanding that every difficulty brings with it a lesson, and that every silence can be a moment of spiritual growth. The psalmist shows us that by waiting, we are heard. This promise encourages us to continue, even when the path seems difficult or uncertain. It is a certainty that calms the mind and comforts the heart. The Lord always listens to us. And when the Lord hears our cry, He answers us in ways we often don't expect. Sometimes the answer is immediate, but other times it comes subtly through internal changes, insights that guide us, or circumstances that gradually transform. Listening to God is not limited to immediate action. It is an ongoing process of care and love. Every sincere prayer is recorded in the divine heart, and every patient wait is valued. This verse invites us to a daily practice: stop, breathe, and place our trust in the Lord. We can take a short pause each day to reflect on our worries, offer our prayers, and simply feel the divine presence. This simple yet powerful practice transforms the way we deal with challenges, replacing anxiety with serenity, haste with discernment, and fear with trust. When we internalize the message of Psalm 41, we realize that patience becomes a fundamental virtue, capable of guiding us in all aspects of life. It helps us listen more attentively, act more wisely, and respond with more love. waiting ceases to be a burden and becomes an opportunity for spiritual growth, connection with God, and inner strengthening. In short, Psalm 41 is an invitation to faith, patience, and hope. It reminds us that waiting for the Lord is not an act of passivity, but of active trust. It is believing that God is attentive to our cry, that He bends down to hear us, and that, in His own time, He will answer us with love and wisdom. Every challenge faced, every moment of silence, and every patient wait strengthens our faith and brings us closer to divine care, bringing peace to our hearts and clarity to our minds. In the previous section, we began to grasp the depth of the verse. I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. Now, let's delve even deeper into the experience of divine waiting and care, exploring how this message can transform our daily lives. Waiting patiently for the Lord involves, first and foremost, surrendering our control. How many times do we want to decide the steps of our own lives, but realize that the results don't come as we expect? In these moments, patience becomes an exercise in trust. It's like holding a lit candle during the night. We need to protect the flame without letting anxiety or the outside wind extinguish it. Patience, in this sense, is not passive but vigilant. It means being attentive, caring for our faith, without losing hope, even when everything seems silent and still. When the psalmist says that the Lord bent down to listen to him, he shows us that we are not alone. Life can be hard, and feelings of isolation are common. But God's promise is clear. He is present, attentive, and ready to hear every sigh of our heart. This divine care encourages us to continue, even when we don't see immediate answers. Often, the simple act of feeling heard brings comfort and strengthens our spirit. It's a reminder that every tear, every silent prayer, every deep desire does not go unnoticed. It's interesting to note that patience isn't just about waiting, but about how we wait. We can wait anxiously, restlessly, feeling frustrated with each passing moment, or we can wait serenely, trusting in God's love and wisdom. This choice completely changes our experience. Waiting patiently is a spiritual practice. It involves meditation, prayer, reflection, and surrender. It's allowing the divine presence to transform our hearts as we await the answer. Reflecting on our cry to God is also important. The psalm speaks of crying out, and crying out is more than asking. It is expressing our hearts sincerely, revealing our fears, our pains, our joys, and our hopes. Crying out is speaking to God as we would to a close friend, without fear or reservation. And the Lord's response, when He bends down to listen to us, does not depend on the grandeur of our language, but on the authenticity of our heart. It is pure feeling that He values. This intimacy between us and God teaches us something essential, that patience isn't just waiting for what we want, but trusting in what we need. Sometimes we desire quick answers or immediate solutions, but God knows what's best for us at every moment. He sees beyond our understanding and acts with infinite wisdom. Every wait, every challenge, every period of silence can be preparing us for something greater, something that, if it arrived sooner, we might not be ready to receive. As we reflect on this, we often realize that patience also transforms us. It shapes the way we deal with difficult situations, develops our empathy, strengthens our faith, and brings us closer to a more conscious life. Waiting ceases to be a difficulty and becomes an opportunity for spiritual growth. We learn to deal with frustrations, understand others better, and appreciate every moment in life, realizing that nothing is lost when we trust in God. The psalm also invites us to observe the signs of God's presence as we wait. Sometimes we don't notice small blessings because we're focused on what hasn't yet arrived. But every sunrise, every gesture of affection, every moment of peace is a reminder that God is with us. Noticing these small manifestations helps us keep our faith alive and gives us the courage to continue, even in the quietest times. Patience and perception go hand in hand, creating an attentive and grateful heart. It's important to remember that waiting for the Lord doesn't mean passive resignation, but active trust. It means continuing to act in a way aligned with faith without despair or giving up. It means believing that even when we don't understand the reasons, God is working on our behalf. This active trust gives us strength to face challenges and allows us to live more lightly, knowing we are not alone. Every step taken in faith, every action guided by divine love, becomes an expression of our patience and trust in God. Furthermore, patience helps us realize that every difficulty has a purpose. The psalmist experienced times of affliction, but found comfort in knowing that God heard his cry. Likewise, we can learn that every challenging situation is an opportunity for growth. Life, with its uncertainties and challenges, offers us precious lessons, and patience allows us to absorb these lessons wisely, without losing ourselves in anxiety or fear. When we reflect on God's act of bending down to listen, we perceive divine tenderness and closeness. We are not speaking of a distant God who observes our difficulties from afar, but of a God who is close, who cares, who feels our pain, and who responds to our cries with love and care. This closeness calms us and gives us hope. It is an invitation to open our hearts, to speak sincerely, and to trust that we are being heard. Finally, we can begin to realize that patience, hope, and trust in God's care are not just spiritual concepts, but practices that transform daily life. They teach us to cope with challenges, to appreciate the present, to observe signs of love, and to keep our faith alive, even when everything seems silent. Every conscious breath, every moment of reflection, every silent prayer is an opportunity to connect with the divine and strengthen our spirit. And so, we continue our journey of reflection on Psalm 41, realizing that patience is not just waiting, but living consciously, confidently, and connected with God, knowing that He bends down to hear each cry, and that, in the right time, He answers us with love and wisdom. As we continue to meditate on the verse, "I waited patiently for the Lord, He inclined to me and heard my cry," we begin to realize that waiting is an act of faith. Patient waiting doesn't mean nothing will happen, but that something is forming, something we may not yet fully see. It's like a seed buried in the ground. At first, it seems like nothing happens, but internally, transformation occurs until it finally sprouts and bears fruit. The psalm reminds us that our waiting is meaningful. Every moment of patience, every silent prayer, every sigh of the heart is noticed by the Lord. He leans in to listen, showing closeness, care, and attention. This image is deeply comforting, for it teaches us that even when we feel ignored or forgotten, we are never alone. God is always present, watching, listening, and acting according to His wisdom. It's important to reflect on how we react to waiting. Often, we want to control everything, rush results, and seek immediate solutions. Anxiety and impatience can blind us to the small signs and blessings around us. The psalm invites us to a different path, to trust, to remain steadfast, and to realize that God's silence is not abandonment, but preparation. Each day of waiting is an opportunity to strengthen our faith and develop resilience. As we meditate, we realize that patience isn't just about waiting, but also about preparing our hearts. It's about becoming receptive to what God wants to give us at the right time. This preparation involves introspection, prayer, reflection, and a willingness to receive what will come. Often, what we desire arrives differently than we imagined, but patience helps us recognize the blessing when it appears. Another important point is to understand that the cry mentioned in the psalm is not just a cry for help. It is also an expression of trust, surrender, and intimacy. Crying out to the Lord means opening our hearts without reservation, sharing our worries, sorrows, and joys. It is a sincere dialogue in which we acknowledge our dependence on God and connect with God's love. This intimacy strengthens our faith and gives us courage to face life's challenges. Waiting, then, becomes a time of internal transformation. We learn to hear God's voice even in moments of apparent silence. We learn that every difficulty can teach us something valuable, and that every challenge is an opportunity for spiritual growth. The psalm shows us that God's care does not depend on the size of our cry, but on the sincerity of our hearts and the patience with which we wait. We also realize that waiting patiently for the Lord helps us develop gratitude. As we observe the small signs of divine love and care, we begin to realize that we are not helpless. Every gesture, every moment of peace, every unexpected help is a silent response from the Lord. This realization fills us with gratitude and strengthens us, allowing us to remain confident and serene even in times of adversity. Another important aspect is that patience teaches us to trust in God's timing. We often want immediate answers, but divine wisdom shows us that there are appropriate times for everything. Patient waiting helps us align our expectations with the divine plan, accepting that each step has a purpose. It is in this trust that we find peace, knowing that everything is being handled with love and care. As we reflect deeper, we can also realize that patience influences our relationships. When we learn to wait with serenity and trust in divine providence, we become more understanding, empathetic, and compassionate. A heart that waits with faith is a heart that also learns to listen to others, embrace their pain, and act with love. This virtue spreads, transforming not only our spiritual life, but also our daily interactions. Furthermore, waiting patiently teaches us emotional resilience. When we face challenges with faith, we learn to deal with frustrations and uncertainties without letting ourselves be discouraged. Trusting that God hears and guides us strengthens our ability to overcome obstacles and find solutions wisely. Each experience of waiting becomes a lesson in strength and hope, preparing us for future challenges with greater serenity. The psalmist also reminds us that God not only hears us, but also leans toward us. This image of closeness is fundamental. A God who draws near, who watches attentively, and who responds to our cries gives us security and comfort. Even when we don't understand the events around us, we can trust that we are supported. The Lord does not abandon us. He walks with us, even in the quietest moments. As we continue this meditation, we realize that patience is not a passive state, but a daily practice of faith. It is an exercise in surrender, trust, and connection with the divine. Each moment of silence, each prayer, each conscious reflection strengthens our relationship with God and helps us live with greater serenity and clarity. It is through this practice that we learn to value the present and trust in the future, knowing that our cry is heard and that the Lord guides us with love. Finally, it brings us even closer to understanding that waiting patiently for the Lord is an act of trust and love. Every challenge, every moment of silence, and every sincere prayer is part of a process of spiritual transformation. The psalm offers us a path of hope, serenity, and faith, reminding us that we are never alone and that the Lord bends down to hear our cry. As we continue our reflection on Psalm 40, verse 1, "I waited patiently for the Lord, He inclined to me and heard my cry," we realize that patience is not just an abstract spiritual virtue, but something we can practice in our daily lives. Waiting with confidence is a daily exercise that requires attention, serenity, and conscious surrender. It is an attitude toward life that transforms the way we deal with challenges, frustrations, and even small everyday difficulties. The first step to practicing patience is recognizing our humanity. We are beings who desire quick answers, immediate solutions, and absolute certainty. But life is made up of cycles, times, and moments that don't always coincide with our plans. Patience arises when we accept that not everything is under our control and that trusting in God is the wisest way to deal with what we cannot change. It's accepting that the Lord knows what's best for us, even when we don't understand the reason for each situation. Another essential aspect is learning to observe. Patience teaches us to perceive God's signs in small things. Someone's smile that comforts us, a word of encouragement, a moment of silence that brings us clarity, or even the inner strength we find when facing a difficulty. Often, we are so focused on what hasn't yet arrived that we miss the signs of divine care around us. Practicing patience involves opening our eyes, heart, and mind to perceive these manifestations of love and presence. Waiting patiently also invites us to reflect on our own growth. Each period of waiting is an opportunity for learning, strengthening, and transformation. It is in silence that we often find internal answers, insights that help us act more wisely and make more informed decisions. Thus, patience becomes a form of spiritual evolution, allowing us to develop empathy, humility, and resilience. Psalm 40 verse 1 shows us that the Lord stoops to hear our cry. This image of closeness is powerful. It reminds us that we are not alone in our journey and that every word, thought, or sincere prayer is recorded by God. The certainty that we are heard gives us security and comfort, strengthening our faith and trust. Even when we face long periods of waiting, this awareness helps us remain steadfast and calm. Practicing patience daily also means cultivating hope. Hope isn't just wishing for something to happen, but believing that God is working on our behalf, even in ways we don't immediately understand. It's knowing that every difficulty has a purpose and that every moment of silence can be preparing us for a greater blessing. Hope keeps us focused, resilient, and serene even in the face of uncertainty and challenges. Another important practice is constant prayer, even if silent. Talking to God daily, sharing our worries, fears, and joys is a way to nurture patience and strengthen faith. Prayer connects us with the divine, gives us mental clarity, and helps us perceive signs of care that might otherwise go unnoticed. Every word spoken, every thought directed toward God is a step on the path of trust and surrender. Furthermore, waiting patiently helps us deal with the unexpected. Life rarely goes perfectly as planned. Problems arise, people fail, situations change. But when we cultivate patience and trust in the Lord, we learn to face these unexpected events with serenity. It doesn't mean we won't feel sadness or frustration, but rather that we will have the inner strength and faith to overcome obstacles, trusting that God guides us every step of the way. Patience also manifests itself in our interpersonal relationships. When we learn to wait calmly, we become more understanding, tolerant, and empathetic. Our faith influences how we act toward others, enabling us to listen, support, and love more deeply. The psalm reminds us that waiting is not wasted time, but an opportunity for inner and outer growth. Throughout the day, we can practice small actions that reinforce this patience. Breathing deeply when facing a difficult situation, reflecting before reacting, giving thanks for small blessings, dedicating moments of silence to prayer. Each conscious gesture is a way of waiting with faith, cultivating a serene heart connected to God. Patience also teaches us to value the time of each process. Nothing happens outside of its proper time. Just as a tree takes years to grow and bear fruit, our spiritual and personal lives develop gradually. Learning to respect this time is essential to keeping hope alive and faith strong. Finally, Psalm 41 invites us to a practice of continual surrender, waiting patiently, crying out sincerely, and fully trusting in God's answer. Every challenge faced, every moment of silence, every sincere prayer contributes to our spiritual transformation. By cultivating patience, we strengthen our faith, make room for miracles, and experience the divine presence more deeply and continuously. In short, the daily practice of patience brings us closer to the Lord, transforms our hearts, and prepares us to receive God's blessings. It teaches us to trust, reflect, give thanks, and keep hope alive, even in the most silent and challenging moments. Every conscious breath, every silent prayer, and every act of faith is an opportunity to connect with the divine and experience the peace that surpasses all understanding. As we meditate on the verse, "I waited patiently for the Lord, He inclined to me and heard my cry," we feel the need not only to reflect, but also to express our feelings and desires to the Lord. The psalm teaches us that patience is accompanied by surrender and sincere crying out. Now it's time to transform this reflection into prayer, connecting our hearts to the divine. Prayer is above all an intimate dialogue with God. It is an expression of trust and gratitude, a moment when we place our pains, fears, hopes, and joys before the one who listens to us with attention and love. Psalm 41 shows us that God bends down to listen to us, and it is precisely in this gesture of closeness that we find the courage to open ourselves completely. As we begin this prayer, we can breathe deeply, calm our minds and hearts, and feel God's presence enveloping us. The patience we cultivate during reflection becomes a channel for prayer to flow naturally, without haste, without anxiety, simply with trust and surrender. Every word, every thought, and every sincere feeling is welcomed by the Lord, who knows us deeply and knows exactly what we need. Before we begin prayer, it's important to remember that we don't need flowery words or grand speeches. The most powerful prayer is one that arises from the heart, with sincerity and faith. We can speak aloud or mentally, or even remain silent, knowing that God knows every intention, every sigh, every emotion. The simple act of crying out in faith is enough to touch the divine heart. As we prepare to pray, we can reflect on times when we waited patiently for the Lord. Remembering the difficulties we faced, the answers that arrived in their own time, the blessings we experienced, and the lessons we learned helps us enter a state of gratitude. Prayer is not just a request, but also an acknowledgement of God's constant presence in our lives. Now, let us begin prayer with an open heart inspired by Psalm 41, recognizing that God always listens to us. Pray with me. Dear Lord, I approach you with a sincere and peaceful heart, remembering the words of your psalm. I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. Father, I recognize that I have often desired immediate answers and lost patience in the face of difficulties. But today, I choose to wait on you with confidence, knowing that you are attentive to every detail of my life. Thank you, Lord, for bending down to listen to me, for welcoming every tear, every thought, and every silent prayer. Thank you for reminding me that I am never alone, even when the silence seems long and the wait difficult. Help me feel your presence and trust that everything happens in its right time, according to your infinite wisdom. Father, at this moment, I surrender to you all my worries, fears, and anxieties. Wash my heart with your peace, strengthen my faith, and help me remain patient even in the face of challenges that seem overwhelming. May I learn to wait with serenity, observing the signs of your presence and recognizing the blessings that already exist in my life. Dear Lord, as I stand before you, I feel my heart grow still and my mind grow calm. Help me understand, Father, that every moment of waiting has a purpose, and that even when I don't see it clearly, you are working on my behalf. Give me the strength to wait patiently, without anxiety or despair, trusting fully in your wisdom and infinite love. Father, help me to recognize your signs of care around me. May I recognize the small blessings I often overlook, the presence of supportive people, moments of simple joy, opportunities for growth and learning. May my gratitude blossom even on difficult days, reminding me that every detail is part of your divine plan. Lord, strengthen my faith. May I keep hope alive in my heart, even in the face of difficulties and uncertainty. Help me trust that you hear every cry, every thought, every deep desire. Even when the silence seems prolonged, may I know that you are present, attentive, and loving, ready to guide and sustain me. Father, I surrender to you my deepest worries, my fears, my insecurities, and everything that prevents me from living fully in peace. Wash my heart with your light, purify my thoughts, and help me find serenity in your presence. Teach me to wait without haste, to trust without doubt, and to live each day with faith and gratitude. Lord, grant me discernment to understand your ways, even when they seem different from my plans. May I accept each challenge as an opportunity for spiritual growth, each difficulty as a chance to strengthen my patience and trust in you. May my life be a reflection of your presence, radiating love, peace, and hope to all around me. Father, I also pray for those facing similar times of waiting and hardship. May they feel your presence, comfort, and care. May their anxieties be calmed and their hearts strengthened in faith. Help us to support one another with empathy, patience, and love, reflecting your love in our lives. Lord, help me remember that patience is not passivity, but active trust in you. May my every action, every decision, and every word reflect this trust and be aligned with your will. Teach me to live consciously, connected to the divine, and to realize that even in the smallest things, you are always present. Father, in this prayer, I thank you for your nearness, for stooping to hear my cry, and for offering me the strength to wait with serenity. May my heart remain steadfast, my mind clear, and my soul at peace, knowing that you guide me with infinite love. May every breath, every thought, and every action be inspired by your presence and wisdom. Lord, strengthen my patience daily. Help me face each challenge with confidence, await each answer with hope, and keep my heart open to your guidance. May my life be transformed through this waiting, becoming more loving, compassionate, and grateful. May I reflect your light and your peace to all around me, and may my faith inspire others to trust in you. Father, I surrender to you my dreams, my deepest desires, and all my needs. May I receive your answer in the right time so that I may grow, learn, and strengthen my faith. Help me remember that you hear every cry and that nothing goes unnoticed before your eyes. May hope and patience blossom in my heart, even in moments of silence. Lord, as I conclude this part of the prayer, I turn to you with gratitude and trust. Thank you for listening to me, for leaning toward me, and for reminding me that I am never alone. May the serenity I feel at this moment remain with me, guiding me in every decision, every challenge, and every step of my journey. May my life be an expression of faith, patience, and hope. Dear Lord, as I continue before you, I feel my heart growing more peaceful, immersed in your presence. Thank you for every moment of patience you taught me, for every difficulty that strengthened my faith, and for every moment of silence that became a learning experience. Lord, I recognize that everything I hope for comes from you, and that your wisdom is greater than my own plans. Father, at this moment, I surrender my entire life, my dreams, my fears, and my hopes to you. May I walk each day with confidence and serenity, knowing that you hear me, that you lean toward me, and that my prayers do not go unheard. Strengthen my heart to wait patiently, even in situations that seem difficult or time-consuming. Lord, help me to remain attentive to your signs, recognizing every blessing, every gesture of love, and every opportunity you place before me. May my gratitude not be mere words, but actions that reflect the faith, hope, and patience you teach me. May I be able to spread your light and your peace to those around me, being an instrument of your love in the world. Father, I also pray for those who find themselves in times of waiting and challenge. May they feel your presence, comfort, and care. May patience blossom in their hearts. May hope never fade, and may faith grow stronger each day. May they know that, just as you incline me to listen, you also listen to them with attention and care. Lord, may my every step be guided by your wisdom. May my words and actions be inspired by your love, and my life be a reflection of your presence. Teach me to trust you fully, to wait with serenity, and to find joy along the way, even when the results are not yet visible. Father, I deeply thank you for hearing my cry, for caring for me, and for strengthening me in every difficult moment. May I never forget that patience is a precious virtue that brings us closer to you, transforms us, and prepares us to receive your blessings in due time. Lord, strengthen my faith daily. Help me live with hope and patience, and guide my heart so that I may always be grateful and attentive to your presence. May the serenity of this prayer remain with me, reminding me that I am never alone and that you always hear my cries. As I close this prayer, I turn to you with complete trust and gratitude, Lord. Thank you for bending down to hear every word, every sigh, and every thought of my heart. May my life be a testimony of your presence, your peace, and your infinite goodness. As we reflect on Psalm 41, I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. We are reminded that patience, faith, and hope are fundamental to our spiritual journey. Waiting for the Lord does not mean inactivity, but trusting that every step, every difficulty, and every moment of silence has a divine purpose. As we meditate on this truth, we can realize that every challenge we face and every period of waiting are opportunities for inner growth. Patience teaches us to observe, reflect, and perceive God's presence even in the smallest things. It brings us closer to divine care and strengthens our faith, allowing us to live with serenity, gratitude, and trust. In this closing moment, it's important to remember that the prayer and reflection we've shared don't have to end here. We can take this practice with us, incorporating it into our daily routine. Every moment of silence, every conscious breath, every word addressed to God is a way to keep our connection with the divine alive. This is how we transform our lives, cultivating inner peace and trust in the Lord's promises. And while we reflect and pray, we can also share this experience with others. Faith is strengthened when shared, when we inspire and encourage those around us. Just as the psalmist reminds us that God bends down to hear our cry, we can be instruments so that others may also experience this divine care and the hope that arises from patience and trust. If you felt peace, inspiration, and renewal while meditating on Psalm 41, consider sharing this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Sharing faith spreads hope, calms hearts, and reminds others that they are not alone. Additionally, if this reflection and prayer touched your heart, please leave a comment below, sharing how you feel or what lessons this moment has taught you. Interaction helps us create a community of faith, love, and support, where each person can find comfort and strength. And to continue receiving moments of reflection and prayer like this, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. This way, you won't miss any opportunity to connect with God and deepen your faith daily. Small steps like subscribing and engaging help spread light, peace, and hope to more people who also need this spiritual care. As we meditate on the conclusion of this video, remember, patience, faith, and hope are not just words, but practices lived daily. Waiting for the Lord with confidence transforms our hearts, teaches us to value the present, and prepares us to receive divine blessings in due time. Every sincere cry is heard, every true prayer is welcomed, and every patient heart is strengthened. As you apply this teaching to your life, take a deep breath, feel God's presence, and notice how He bends down to listen to every detail of your heart. May the serenity and peace we feel at this moment remain with us, guiding our actions, decisions, and thoughts. May we live with greater love, faith, and patience, trusting that God is always with us. Also, remember to look around you. God's care often manifests itself through other people, opportunities, and unexpected situations. Being patient means being attentive to these manifestations of love and acting with gratitude and generosity, making our lives a reflection of God's presence. May this reflection on Psalm 41 continue to resonate in your heart, reminding you that, regardless of your circumstances, you are never alone. God bends down to hear your cry, and His presence is constant, guiding and strengthening your faith. As we reflect on Psalm 41, I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. We can realize that the message of this verse is eternal and timeless. It reminds us that patience and trust in God lead us to a state of inner peace, even in the face of difficulties. Faith is strengthened when we understand that the Lord is always present, attentive, and willing to listen to us. As we meditate on these words, we feel the importance of sharing this experience with others. Faith multiplies when we convey hope, serenity, and love. Therefore, we invite you to like this video, as it helps spread this message of peace and faith to more hearts that need comfort and inspiration. Each like is a way of helping more people feel God's presence in their lives. Also, leave your comment below. Sharing your testimony, your reflections, or simply your experiences of faith helps create a united and supportive community. Knowing that others are also waiting patiently for the Lord and feeling His care brings comfort, strengthens faith, and encourages everyone to continue trusting and praying. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now is the perfect time. By subscribing and turning on notifications, you ensure that new reflections and meditative prayers will reach you, providing moments of spiritual connection, serenity, and hope each day. Each subscription is another light shining to spread the word of God, creating a space of faith and welcome. Psalm 41 teaches us that waiting patiently is not a sign of weakness, but an act of faith and courage. Every sincere prayer, every silent cry, and every moment of reflection is heard by the Lord, who bends down to receive our words and feelings. This gives us strength to continue, teaches us to trust in His wisdom, and brings us closer to His presence. As we reflect on this truth, remember that patience is a continuous path of spiritual growth. It transforms us internally, making us more understanding, serene, and grateful. The daily practice of patience helps us face challenges with faith and hope, knowing that the Lord guides us every step of the way, even when we don't see the complete path. As you apply this teaching to your daily life, notice the small signs of God around you. Every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every opportunity to learn is a manifestation of His care. Being patient means paying attention to these manifestations, welcoming them with gratitude, and allowing them to transform our lives. We also encourage you to share this video with someone who might benefit from this reflection and prayer. Patience and faith multiply when we spread hope. You can inspire friends, family, or those going through difficult times to trust in the Lord, reminding them that He always hears every cry and bends down to bring comfort, peace, and guidance. By looking within, each viewer can reflect on their own path of faith. May patience blossom in your heart, may hope remain firm, and trust in God grow stronger daily. Each moment of reflection and prayer is an opportunity for spiritual growth, preparing the heart to receive blessings in due time. Finally, as we close this part of the video, remember that God's care is constant. He bends down to listen, strengthens us, guides us, and protects us. Even in moments of silence, when nothing seems to be happening, He is present, shaping our path, strengthening our patience, and preparing us for what is best for us. By following these practices of faith, prayer, and reflection, you become part of a chain of hope and light. Every act of engagement, whether liking, commenting, sharing, or subscribing, helps spread God's peace and presence to more people, multiplying the impact of this message. As we reflect one last time on Psalm 41, I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. We are reminded that patience, faith, and hope are fundamental pillars in our spiritual journey. Every moment of waiting, every sincere prayer, and every meditative reflection brings us closer to God's presence and strengthens us to face life with serenity. Throughout this video, we meditate on the importance of waiting, trusting in God's timing, and recognizing the signs of His care in our daily lives. Every difficulty, every challenge, and every moment of silence is, in fact, an opportunity for spiritual growth. Faith grows stronger as we learn to wait serenely, trust courageously, and surrender our hearts to the Lord. Before we say goodbye, let us say a short prayer of gratitude together. Dear Lord, thank You for accompanying us every step of the way, for hearing our cry, and for strengthening us in every moment of waiting. Thank You for Your patience, for Your constant presence, and for Your never-failing love. May we carry this reflection and prayer in our hearts, living each day with faith, hope, and serenity. Amen. Now, as we close this video, I want to invite you to practice some simple actions of engagement that also strengthen the faith community. 1. Like this video. Every like helps spread the message of patience, hope, and trust in God to more people. 2. Leave a comment. Share your experiences, reflections, or feelings after watching this video. Your story can inspire and encourage others who are also experiencing waiting. 3. Share with someone. If you know someone who needs to hear this message of faith and patience, send them this video. Spreading hope is an act of love. 4. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This way, you won't miss any moment of prayer, reflection, or meditation, maintaining your daily connection with God. Remember that patience and faith are not just spiritual concepts, but life-transforming practices. Waiting on the Lord with confidence gives us serenity, strengthens our hearts, and allows us to live with gratitude, hope, and love. Every sincere cry is heard, every genuine prayer is welcomed, and every moment of silence is an opportunity for spiritual growth. As you conclude this moment of meditation, breathe deeply, feel God's presence enveloping your heart and mind, and perceive the serenity He offers. May this peace remain with you, guiding your actions, thoughts, and decisions. May you bring this confidence and hope to everyone around you, being an instrument of light, love, and faith. We say goodbye with the certainty that God bends down to hear every cry, every prayer, and every sincere desire. He is present in every moment, even when we don't realize it, strengthening us, guiding us, and loving us immeasurably. May this message remain in your heart, reminding you that we are never alone and that patience and faith always bear fruit in due time. Thank you for watching, for meditating with us, and for participating in this reflection and prayer. May your journey be illuminated, your heart be strengthened, and your life be filled with hope, faith, and peace. And remember, continue to wait patiently, trusting fully in the Lord, and share this light with the world around you.